Chapter 1. The Billionaire's Obsession Begins. Noel Evans had 3 rules in life. 1. Never get involved with rich lunatics. 2. Never take jobs from suspiciously wealthy clients. 3. Never, under any circumstances, piss off a powerful CEO. Unfortunately, he had just broken all 3 in one night. Noel sat stiffly in the extravagant private dining room of a 5-star hotel, his fingers twitching around the champagne glass he had no intention of drinking. Across from him sat Adrian Blackwood, the most powerful and most terrifying CEO in the country. Adrian exuded the kind of dangerous aura that made people either want to run for their lives or fall at his feet. With his sharp jawline, icy gray eyes, and custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than Noel's entire apartment, he looked like he had stepped right out of a billionaire romance novel. A yandere billionaire romance novel, to be precise. And he was staring at Noel like a predator sizing up his prey. "Mr. Blackwood," Noel said, forcing his voice to stay steady. "If this is about the deal I blocked this morning, I assure you it wasn't personal, just business." Adrian tilted his head slightly, swirling his wine glass. "I'm aware. But that doesn't change the fact that you cost me billions, Noel." Noel felt a cold sweat forming at the base of his neck. "Then, I suppose I should be grateful you didn't have me thrown into a river with cement shoes?" Adrian smirked. "Yet?" Noel choked on air. A deep chuckle rumbled from Adrian's chest as he leaned closer, his elbows resting on the table. "Relax, sweetheart. I have no intention of hurting you." Noel narrowed his eyes. "Good? Because I don't do business with criminals." Adrian's smirk grew. "Who said anything about business? I want you, Noel." Noel's brain short-circuited. "Excuse me. You're sharp, brilliant, and infuriatingly stubborn. I admire that," Adrian continued smoothly. "So I've decided. You belong to me now." Noel shot up from his chair. "Like hell I do." Before he could take a step, Adrian snapped his fingers. Immediately, 2 of his bodyguards blocked the exit. Noel gawked at them, then turned back to Adrian. "What the actual hell? Are you serious right now?" Adrian simply took a sip of his wine, completely unbothered. "Dead serious." Noel clenched his fists, seething. "Listen here, you psychotic—" "Careful, darling," Adrian interrupted, his voice dropping into a dangerous purr. "That sharp tongue of yours makes me want to do things to you." Noel turned bright red. What?" Adrian smiled, pleased with the reaction. He leaned back in his chair and crossed his legs, looking far too satisfied. "I've already taken care of your resignation. Starting tomorrow, you'll be moving in with me." Noel's jaw dropped. What? Resignation, moving in? Have you lost your damn mind?" "Completely," Adrian said without hesitation. "For you." Noel stared at him, utterly dumbfounded. This man was a lunatic. A rich, handsome, dangerously obsessed lunatic. And somehow, Noel had just become his latest acquisition. Chapter 2. The CEO's Lovesick Obsession. Adrian Blackwood had never been a patient man. He had built his empire through sheer force of will, crushing anyone who dared to stand in his way. Money, power, influence. He had it all. But for the first time in his life, there was someone, he couldn't have. Noel Evans. From the moment Adrian first saw him at a financial summit 6 months ago, he had been captivated. Noel wasn't like the bootlicking executives Adrian was used to dealing with. He was sharp, unafraid to challenge authority, and had a smart mouth that Adrian wanted to kiss and silence at the same time. Adrian had watched from afar, subtly guiding Noel's career upward, ensuring he landed high-profile deals and gained recognition. Not that Noel ever noticed. Then, that morning, Noel had unknowingly ruined one of Adrian's most important acquisitions. His Noel, standing on the opposite side of the battlefield, working against him. Adrian could have been angry, could have destroyed the firm Noel worked for in minutes. But instead, his first thought had been, "Perfect. Now I finally have an excuse to claim him." And now here they were. Noel was still fuming, arms crossed as he glared at Adrian from across the luxurious penthouse Adrian had definitely not kidnapped him to. "Let me get this straight," Noel said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You've been watching me for months like some deranged stalker, manipulating my career from the shadows, and now you think I'm just going to live with you? Are you insane?" Adrian exhaled softly, as if his patience was being tested. "I prefer the term devoted." Noel groaned. "You're insane." Adrian smirked, stepping closer. "Insanely in love with you, yes." Noel recoiled. "Stop that." "Stop what?" Adrian tilted his head. "Confessing my love? Staring at you like you're the only thing that matters? Planning our future together?" Noel's face turned red. You threatened me into coming here." Adrian sighed dramatically, leaning against the bar. "Noel, my darling, if I truly wanted to threaten you, you'd know. But no. All I did was gently persuade you. You said I had no choice." Adrian placed a hand over his heart. "And yet, here you are, perfectly safe, unharmed, with all your freedoms intact. Well?" His gaze darkened slightly. "All except the freedom to leave me." Noel let out a frustrated sound. "You're impossible." Adrian chuckled, stepping closer. "And you're breathtaking." Noel turned away, heart racing. He hated how smooth Adrian was. Hated how, despite being an over-the-top possessive lunatic, he wasn't actually hurting him. No threats, no real danger. Just overwhelming, suffocating, obsessive love. "You'll get used to it," Adrian said softly. "To me." Noel spun around. "I'll never get used to this." Adrian smiled, leaning down until their faces were inches apart. "We'll see." Noel's breath hitched, and for the first time he realized something terrifying. Adrian Blackwood wasn't just obsessed. He was in love. A dangerous, overwhelming, all-consuming love. Chapter 3. Trapped in Luxury. Noel Evans had seen some absurd things in his life. Corrupt businessmen, market crashes, even a CEO throwing a tantrum over a misplaced decimal point. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to being fake kidnapped by a lovesick billionaire under the ridiculous excuse of protection. Sitting on the plush, king-sized bed of Adrian Blackwood's disgustingly expensive penthouse, Noel let out a groan, rubbing his temples. How did his life come to this? Oh, right. 5 days ago. Noel had been heading home after work, tired and very done with the day, when suddenly a sleek black car had pulled up beside him. Before he could react, 2 men in suits had stepped out. "Mr. Evans, please come with us," one of them had said, way too politely for what was clearly a kidnapping attempt. Noel had obviously refused. "Like hell I will," the other man had sighed. "Sir, resisting will be futile." And before Noel could even blink, Adrian Blackwood himself had stepped out of the car looking calm, collected, and stupidly handsome. "Good evening, darling," Adrian had greeted, like they were lovers instead of CEO and random guy he was stalking. "I'm afraid there's been a security threat against you." Noel had narrowed his eyes. "Bullshit." Adrian had simply smiled. "We'll discuss it in the car." "No, we won't. Hey, let me go." And just like that, he had been scooped up, yes, actually, scooped up, into Adrian's arms like some helpless maiden in a mafia romance. "You're safer with me," Adrian had murmured as Noel kicked and flailed in his arms. "No struggling, love. It won't change the outcome." Noel had screamed. A lot. Present time. Now here he was, locked in a penthouse the size of a small kingdom, with floor-to-ceiling windows, a private indoor pool, and a balcony that overlooked the city skyline. And Adrian? That psychotic, lovesick, delusional CEO had been nothing but sweet, in the most terrifyingly possessive way possible. "Need anything, darling?" Adrian had asked earlier that morning, leaning against the doorway. "Yeah," Noel had snapped. "A one-way ticket out of here." Adrian had only chuckled, like Noel was saying the cutest thing in the world. "Oh, Noel, you always make me laugh." Noel had scowled. "I wasn't joking." But Adrian had completely ignored that. Instead, he had placed a tray of food in front of Noel. Gourmet breakfast, croissants, fresh fruit, and eggs made to perfection. Eat, Adrian had ordered gently. You must be starving. Noel had crossed his arms. I'm not eating anything a kidnapper gives me. Adrian had sighed dramatically, taking a fork and eating a bite himself. See? No poison. Now be good and eat. Noel had grumbled, but eventually eaten, because it really was good, damn it. After breakfast, Noel had tried his first escape attempt, which had failed miserably. First, he had tried the front door, locked, with a retinal scanner. What kind of unhinged billionaire even has that? Then, he had tried the balcony. Bad idea. The moment he had climbed over the railing, Adrian's voice had come from nowhere. Noel, if you jump, I'll simply catch you. Noel had shrieked and nearly fallen off. Looking up, he had spotted security cameras in every corner. Adrian had watched the whole thing. You psycho, Noel had yelled, shaking a fist at the camera. Adrian's amused voice had crackled through the intercom. If you wanted my attention, love, you could have just asked. Fuming, Noel had marched back inside. Escape attempt number 3, trying to bribe the housekeeper. Hey, Noel had whispered to the old lady tidying up the living room. I'll pay you double whatever he's paying you if you let me out. She had chuckled, patting his cheek. Oh, sweetie, Mr. Blackwood pays me enough to retire 10 times over, but good luck. Noel had screamed internally. Now, after failing multiple times, Noel sat on the bed, glaring at the door as Adrian casually walked in like he owned the place. Well, technically he did, but still. Another failed attempt? Adrian asked, amused. Noel threw a pillow at him. Let me go, you obsessive lunatic. Adrian caught the pillow effortlessly, smirking. Never. Noel groaned, falling back onto the bed. He was never getting out of here, was he? Adrian sat beside him, brushing a strand of hair from Noel's forehead. Stop resisting, love. You'll see soon enough. This is where you belong. Noel's stomach did a weird, traitorous flip. He was so screwed. Chapter 4. Falling unwillingly for a lovesick lunatic. Noel prided himself on being a rational man. Smart, logical, someone who could resist temptation no matter how absurdly attractive or over-the-top his captor was. But after 3 weeks in Adrian Blackwood's luxurious, borderline ridiculous captivity, Noel was starting to question his own sanity. Because the jerk madman was making it really, really hard to hate him. At first, Noel had expected the whole kidnapping thing to be filled with intimidation, threats, and the usual mafia billionaire nonsense. But Adrian? Oh no. Adrian had kidnapped him and then proceeded to spoil the hell out of him. Like some delusional boyfriend playing house. Every morning, Noel woke up to breakfast in bed. The first time it happened, Noel had groggily opened his eyes to find Adrian, fully dressed in one of his disgustingly expensive suits, sitting beside the bed, holding a silver tray. Good morning, darling, Adrian had murmured, looking obnoxiously soft for someone who had literally stolen him away from his normal life. Noel had blinked blearily at the food, pancakes topped with strawberries, fresh juice, even a single rose on the tray. Then he'd blinked at Adrian, then back at the food. Are you poisoning me? Noel had finally asked. Adrian had laughed, like Noel had just made a cute joke instead of accusing him of attempted murder. My love, if I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be wrapped in silk sheets eating a meal prepared by a Michelin star chef. Fair point, Noel had muttered. He had absolutely still checked the food for poison, just in case. Then came the love letters. Or, well, love threats. Noel had found the first one on his nightstand after a failed escape attempt. It read, To my dearest Noel, if you ever try to leave me again, I will burn down the entire city searching for you. But don't worry, sweetheart. I'd find you first. Yours forever and always, Adrian. Noel had screamed into a pillow. Then came the private island getaway. Because, of course, Adrian wasn't satisfied with just trapping Noel in a penthouse. No, he had to whisk him away to a tropical paradise. One morning, Noel had woken up only to find Adrian already packing his suitcase. What the hell are you doing? Noel had snapped, still half asleep. Adrian had turned, smiling like some lovesick fool. Packing for our honeymoon. Noel had choked on air. Our what? Adrian had chuckled, zipping up the suitcase. Fine. Our vacation. Like hell I'm going. Cut to an hour later, and Noel was on a private jet heading to a secluded island resort, because Adrian had literally carried him on board. I hate you, Noel had hissed as the plane took off. Adrian had only pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. I adore you too, sweetheart. Noel had turned scarlet. As the days passed, Noel started noticing something else. Yes, Adrian was a psychotic, possessive, controlling bastard. But he was also incredibly romantic. Adrian never forced Noel into anything uncomfortable. He never raised his voice, never truly threatened him. Sure, the possessiveness was insane, but the man treated Noel like he was made of glass. Adrian carried him when he was too tired to walk. He ran his fingers through Noel's hair when he fell asleep on the couch. He memorized every little thing Noel liked, his favorite foods, his preferred coffee order, even the way he liked his pillows arranged. He never let Noel feel alone. And worst of all, Noel was starting to like it. One night, as they lay on the beach watching the stars, Adrian sighed. You're softening toward me. Noel scoffed, looking away. In your dreams. Adrian chuckled, his gaze lingering on Noel's face. My dreams are already filled with you, love. Noel's heart betrayed him by skipping a beat. Damn it. He was so screwed. Chapter 5. The Fire That Burns for You. Noel had always believed that love was just a beautifully disguised illusion. A game of convenience, a temporary emotion, something that faded when reality set in. But Adrian Blackwood? He loved like he was ready to set the world on fire. And Noel finally realized that when Adrian actually did. Noel had been resisting, fighting, clawing to keep his distance from the lovesick CEO who had kidnapped him under the pretense of protection. But Adrian was relentless. Unshaken by Noel's cold glares, unaffected by his sarcastic jabs. He only smiled through it all, soft and unbothered, like Noel's resistance was just a minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of their love story. You'll see it one day, darling, Adrian had murmured one night, fingers brushing against Noel's cheek as they lay beside each other. That I was made to love you. Noel had scoffed at the time, rolling over so Adrian wouldn't see the way his traitorous heart clenched. But now, he understood. Because tonight, Adrian proved that his love wasn't just words. It was war. The attack came out of nowhere. They had returned from that island paradise just a day ago. And currently Noel had just stepped onto the penthouse balcony, breathing in the fresh night air when he heard it. Gunfire. His blood ran cold. Security alarms blared through the building. Guards scrambled, shouting orders. Noel barely had time to register what was happening before strong arms wrapped around him. Adrian? He moved instinctively, shielding Noel's body with his own as he pulled him back inside. Stay behind me, Adrian ordered, voice like steel. Noel was about to argue, because hello, he wasn't just some helpless damsel, when a bullet shattered the glass beside him. His breath hitched. Shit. Adrian's grip tightened, and for the first time since Noel met him, he saw it. The side of Adrian that the world feared. His usual playful smirk was gone. His warm gaze turned ruthless, cold, as he turned to his guards. Who? He asked, one word, but drenched in murderous intent. Rivals from the East Syndicate, one of the guards answered. They must have tracked you here. They didn't get to finish. Because Adrian, still keeping Noel behind him, pulled out his gun and fired. The man attacking them dropped instantly. Noel's breath caught in his throat. Adrian had shot without hesitation, without blinking. He turned his head slightly, his voice eerily calm. I told them. I warned them not to touch what's mine. The word sent a shiver down Noel's spine. Then suddenly, chaos. Adrian's men surged forward, clearing the area with military precision. The remaining enemies barely had time to react before they were outnumbered, overpowered, and eliminated. Noel just stood there, frozen. He had known Adrian was dangerous, had joked about how possessive and insane he was. But seeing it like this, watching Adrian command an entire war zone while still keeping one protective hand on him, it did something to Noel's heart, something he wasn't ready to admit. Minutes later, the gunfire stopped. The air was thick with tension, the smell of gunpowder still lingering. Adrian turned to face Noel, his cold expression melting in an instant. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice suddenly soft. Noel shook his head, still processing what just happened. Adrian exhaled. Then suddenly, he pulled Noel into his arms. Noel tensed. Hey, what are you—" "You're safe," Adrian murmured against his hair. "I almost lost my mind when I heard the shots." Noel swallowed hard. I was fine." Adrian pulled back, cupping his face. "No. If they had even touched you, I would have burned their entire bloodline to the ground." Noel's heart skipped a beat. Because Adrian wasn't just saying that as a threat. He meant it. Noel had spent weeks trying to convince himself that Adrian was just an obsessive bastard who wanted control over him. But that wasn't it. Adrian's obsession wasn't about control. It was devotion. This man, this dangerous, over-the-top psychotic billionaire, would tear the world apart just to keep Noel safe. And for the first time, that didn't scare him. It made him feel wanted, adored. Noel hated himself for the way his heart warmed at the realization. But no matter how much he tried to deny it, the truth was clear. This lovesick fool was his. And worst of all, Noel was starting to be okay with that. Chapter 6. Love, Chaos, and One Stubborn Tsundere. Noel was not in love with Adrian Blackwood. Nope. No way. Absolutely not. Okay, fine. Maybe a tiny bit. But would he admit that? Over his dead body. After the attack, life gradually returned to normal. Or, well, as normal as life could be when you're insanely rich, ridiculously handsome, and unreasonably possessive boyfriend. Yes, now he called Adrian his boyfriend. Still insisted on treating you like a fragile glass ornament. "You're not going back to work," Adrian had declared one morning, arms crossed as he blocked Noel's path to the front door. Noel sighed, already used to this nonsense. "Adrian, move." "Absolutely not." "Adrian. Darling, why would you want to go back to your boring little office when you could stay here and let me spoil you?" Noel narrowed his eyes. "Because unlike some people, I actually enjoy working." Adrian looked personally offended by that. "I work," he argued. "You sit in a billion-dollar office drinking overpriced coffee while making world-changing deals over a phone call," Noel shot back. "Meanwhile, I actually have to deal with annoying coworkers and meet deadlines." Adrian smirked. "Oh, my poor baby. Would you like me to buy your entire company and fire everyone who annoys you?" Noel gaped at him. "What?" "It's a valid solution." "That is not a valid solution, you insane—" Noel cut himself off, inhaling sharply before shoving Adrian aside. "I'm going. Bye." Adrian huffed dramatically. "At least let my guards escort you." Noel slammed the door in his face. From the other side, he heard Adrian sigh. "I'll miss you, my love." Noel's traitorous heart skipped a beat. Damn it! Despite Adrian's constant overprotectiveness, Noel managed to return to his normal routine. Work, coffee breaks, ignoring the ridiculous amount of love texts Adrian sent him throughout the day. "Adrian, miss you already." "Adrian, thinking about you." "Adrian, if your boss is mean, let me know. I'll ruin their life for you." "Adrian, darling, answer me. I need to hear your voice." "Adrian, I love you." "Noel, I'm blocking you." "Adrian, no, you're not." Noel groaned and shoved his phone away. He was not smiling. Their life became a mix of bickering and soft moments. Adrian, for all his obsessive tendencies, was a lovesick fool through and through. Noel would wake up in the morning to find Adrian staring at him with hearts in his eyes. "You're so beautiful when you sleep," Adrian would whisper. Noel would kick him off the bed. At work, Adrian would randomly show up just to bring him lunch. "I have a meeting nearby," he'd say casually. handing over a 5-star meal. Noel would glare at him. You own a multinational company. You don't just happen to be nearby. Adrian would just grin. Oops. Noel would grumble but eat the food anyway. Evenings were a mix of banter and affection. Adrian would insist on cuddling while they watched movies. Noel would pretend to hate it but always end up falling asleep in his arms. Adrian would write sappy love letters and leave them on Noel's nightstand. Noel would read them secretly and keep them in a hidden drawer. And slowly, very slowly, the remaining of Noel's cold walls crumbled. One evening, as they sat on the penthouse balcony watching the sunset, Adrian turned to Noel with that soft, adoring look that always made his stomach flip. I love you, Adrian said like it was the most natural thing in the world. Noel's breath caught. His heart pounded. His mind screamed, say it back. But his pride said, hell no. So instead, he scoffed, crossing his arms. Whatever. Adrian chuckled, completely unaffected. You're so cute, my little Tsundere. Noel's eye twitched. Don't call me that. Adrian pulled him close, resting his chin on Noel's shoulder. But you are, he murmured, pressing a kiss to Noel's cheek. You act cold. But you love me. Noel froze. His ears burned. I do not, he sputtered. Adrian just smirked. I don't. Of course, darling. I'm serious. Adrian kissed his temple. I know, love. Noel buried his face in his hands. This man was impossible. But as Adrian pulled him closer, arms wrapped securely around him, Noel let out a small sigh and melted just a little. Maybe, just maybe, being loved by a crazy, obsessive, over-the-top billionaire wasn't that bad. Not that he'd ever admit it.